Uh-huh. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Right. So the goal is to then not be Dead by Daylight, right? Words to live by. Oh, hi. I didn't see you come in. I'm Bruce Campbell, best known as Ash Williams from Ash vs. Evil Dead. Good news. You get to play Ash as a survivor in the hit video game Dead by Daylight. Be Ash and survive. Okay? Got it? Good. Now, my agent told me once I completed my contractual obligations that you had a little something for me. This isn't tequila, but what the fuck? Get somebody on the phone.
Where evil lurks, there will be heroes who stand against it. Though outnumbered, overwhelmed, and often alone, a hero will endure all the same. They will not cave to the darkness, but instead they will confront the evil dead and rise up, showing a mettle and grit that goes beyond what a mere man could ever hope to accomplish. Here in the fog is one such hero. More than a survivor, more than a man, he is Bruce Campbell, and he's here to be Ash Williams. Welcome, my friends, to the fog and the evil dead within it. Ash Williams' story truly begins in 1982 when he, his sister Cheryl, his girlfriend Linda, his friend Scotty, and Scotty's girlfriend Shelley all go to a cabin in the woods as a fun getaway, not realizing that the woods surrounding that cabin are plagued by a darkness. A professor of archaeology had been studying a recovered Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon, and his research had led to the summoning of Kandarian demons known as Deadites. Inadvertently, Ash had his friends awakened the demons again by replaying the recording with the incantation from the book in it. Systematically, the demons went to work torturing and possessing Ash's friends and family. Cheryl was possessed first and locked in the cellar. Then Shelley, then Linda, then Scotty. All fell to the nightmarish demons, leaving only Ash to brave the evil. After being forced to kill his friends and sister by throwing the Necronomicon into the fire, he believed his story was done. But evil never knows to rest. Ash was still trapped by the remaining demons who attempted to possess him as well, but Ash was able to resist the corruption of the Deadites through force of will. Ash spent the rest of the night fighting off the visions and tortures of the Deadites, hoping he'd eventually break under the strain. The demons even pushed him to the point of amputating his own right hand that they had possessed in order to torture him. But his solitude was broken by the arrival of Professor Ed Getley, Annie, Bobby Joe, and Jake. Annie was the daughter of the professor who had originally discovered the Necronomicon and was not aware of the evil that the book contained. She'd come with lost pages of the book that she'd wanted to translate, but no sooner had they arrived at the cabin than the Deadites began seeking new souls to harvest. Annie's mother, Henrietta, who was a Deadite buried in the cellar, came back to life to try and kill the folks above her, and along with her, Professor Getley became a Deadite as well. One by one, Ash was watching the events of the previous night replay as people he'd come to know gradually were either possessed, or killed, or both, by the demons. Finally, Annie discovered the truth. The pages she'd brought hold the incantation to defeat the demons for good by sending them into a time vortex. But Jake, in a panic and desperate need to save the now-deceased Bobby Joe, threw the pages into the cellar with the Deadite Henrietta, until they helped him find his girlfriend. Things turned bad for Ash when Henrietta finally manages to break free and kill Jake, leaving only Ash and Annie to fight on. Needing those pages in the basement, Ash replaces his missing hand with a chainsaw, which, in a word, is...
groovy.
And begins his final fight with the Deadite, which... Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta break character now for this. Just... Bruce Campbell, you absolute treasure. Okay, play it! Play it!
Swallow your soul! Swallow your soul! Swallow this.
This is what dreams are made of, folks. I love this movie. Annie manages to read out the incantation but dies in the process. The time warp draws Ash as well as the Deadites into a time warp, dropping Ash in the year 1300 AD. And at some point I'm going to need to do a video about how inaccurate that looks for 1300 AD England. My goodness, that's bad. And I'll stop here, because I have a confession to make. I haven't seen Army of Darkness, nor have I watched Ash vs. the Evil Dead, which is what I know this version of Ash Williams is based on. I know, heresy, right? But I don't think it's all that necessary for the purposes of this lore introduction. Essentially, Ash vs. the Evil Dead takes place 30 years after the main events of the Cabin story, where Ash has tried to run away from his past, but after reading the Necronomicon while high, he brings his past back to haunt him, and now he lives in some kind of silly action comedy mix where he fights Deadites alongside other folks with dark pasts, which... okay, I mean, I'm sure it's entertaining, but it's just not for me.
I kill demons, not people.
Bullshit!
Unless those people are demons who look like people. And then I kill people.
The Dead by Daylight lore explains that Ash gets into a fight with a Deadite and the two make a deal. Ash won't kill the demon, and the demon will let Ash go to his friends. Unfortunately, the entity gets involved and takes Ash to his realm. Now, there are two things I want to make clear. The first is that I love Ash Williams and Bruce Campbell's performance as him. I remember watching the first Evil Dead movies and having a grand time. Bruce is a fantastic actor, and even as a young man, his commitment to the role and his hilarious physical comedy abilities was just top-notch. I regret never seeing Army of Darkness, but I've heard it's not nearly as good as the first two, so who knows. As for Ash vs. the Evil Dead, I'm not sure how I like that concept. I mean, I would watch for Campbell's performance alone, but I also feel like it just wouldn't be the same kind of entertainment as what I got out of the original movies.
How well do you really know the Mexican anyway?
Hey, he's not the Mexican, okay? He's Pablo. Pablo the Mexican.
The only person you're willing to lay down and die for is you.
Well, that's because I'm very important to me.
I like where your head's at.
Almost as much as I like where your nub's at. Oh.
That's disgusting. But you know, I can't be mad, because that's exactly what I would have said. All right, look, if I get this done quick enough, we might have time to stop for churros. And look, that's not a racist thing, Pablo. That's just a great dessert.
Okay. You know I'm not Mexican, right?
That's the spirit.
Now, the second thing is that as for Ash's place in the Dead by Daylight franchise, I mean, I'm glad for it. I'm glad he's there. I mean, I was happy to hear about it, but I was a little underwhelmed when I finally saw him in place. Look, Ash is a fighter, someone who puts up a struggle and makes sure that the other guy's at least hurting on the way out. I thought he'd have something like Decisive Strike as a perk, but no, his perks are... I think the best way to put it is that his perks are not kind to the unprepared. Ash's perks are Flip-Flop, Buckle Up, and Medal of Man. Flip-Flop is a good tool to use if the killer doesn't pick you up right away when he downs you. While in the dying state, 50% of your recovery progress is converted into your wiggle progress, potentially making it easier for you to break free of the killer, if he takes too long to pick you up, that is. And if you combine this perk with something like Boil Over, you've got a pretty strong perk combination to resist the killer when he tries to pick you up. I've actually used this with some success, so I do recommend it. But again, I mean, don't worry, we'll get there, we'll get there. Next is Buckle Up. Buckle Up is it's just situational, I'd say, but it is useful. While healing someone who's in the dying state, again, note, it's important that they're in the dying state, you see the aura of the killer, and finishing the healing action gives both of you the endurance status effect. This perk is good, but again situational. It relies on the killer slugging rather than picking up the survivor, and it also relies on speed of healing. If you're not fast enough, you're just making yourself an easy target. There are many times I've tried to use Buckle Up in a situation, but the killer just ends up coming back before I'm finished, and they chase me into the dying state. Not a lot of use. And then there's Medal of Man. It's a very demanding perk that requires you to be good at Survivor and brave enough to take hits. If you take 3 protection hits, which means you shield another survivor from a hit meant for them, then Medal of Man activates. When this perk activates, the next time you're injured and would go down as a result, you ignore the damage. However, once healed out of the injured state, your aura will be revealed to the killer after you are 16 meters away from him. Yes, you heard me correctly. Not only does this perk essentially require you to take hits for your teammates, putting you in a dangerous position, but it also only guarantees you the equivalent of 1 endurance effect after taking those hits 3 times. And even when you use it, your aura is still revealed after getting healed. I know lots of survivors swear by this perk because of how they use it effectively, but for casual players like me, it's just not worth it. And I think that's the big problem I have with Bruce Campbell in this situation. When I remember Bruce Campbell's performance as Ash Williams in the first, second, and parts of what I've seen from the Army of Darkness Evil Dead movies, he kind of turned into a badass, like this guy who could really pick fights and, take on evil. And I know it's hard to do that in a game like Dead by Daylight, but, I mean, they even gave Laurie Strode Decisive Strike. What did we get here? The only one that I could kind of see as a good resistance perk would be Flip Flop. But the problem I see here is most of these perks are very situational and depend on what the killer does. For example, Flip Flop requires that the killer walk away from you and leave you in the dying state for enough time that you can get enough buildup of your recovery progress that you can even use it. And then Buckle Up is only useful again if the killer does the same thing with someone else, allowing you to heal them out of the dying state. And Medal of Man, it requires you to be brave enough to run in and take hits for your teammates. So I guess the real thing here is, it means that you have to be brave, really, really brave to use Bruce Campbell. But the problem I see there is, it just isn't going to meet with a high success rate half the time, which I guess that is your call to make. I love Bruce Campbell as an actor. I love Ash Williams as a character. I enjoyed seeing the first 2 Evil Dead movies. At some point, I'll probably have to watch Army of Darkness, and maybe I'll catch Ash vs. the Evil Dead. I don't know. But regardless of that, I had fun playing Ash for a little while. It took me way longer to make this video than I would have liked because of some technical issues. But what did you guys think? Did you enjoy this video? What do you think of Ash Williams? What do you think of Bruce Campbell? Do you like the Evil Dead series? Have you seen the Evil Dead series? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, I will see you in my next video. Take care.